going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your review for AEW Dynamite for October 6th, aka the 2-year anniversary of Dynamite. How you guys doing? What do you think of the show? And I'm going to say this right off the bat. Throw it down in the box below. Tell me what you think of the show. Tell me what you think of my coverage of the show as I try to fix my hat that's not sitting properly. It's not the gimmick hat. I can't find the gimmick hat, so I've got the generic camo hat that probably looks like shit. I thought this was a pretty good show. I will say two things. A, this show flew by. B, this show solidified to me that, unlike WWE, where there's shit that I hate, shit that I love, and there's just stuff in the middle that's sort of in that meld of, hey, it's good sometimes, they're good sometimes, they have a good occasional match. I give this the benefit of the doubt depending on how I'm feeling that day. There is a much bigger gulf between stuff I love on AEW and stuff that I don't give a shit about. And the stuff that I don't give a shit about is... It's kind of vast in a way, because most of the stuff that I don't give a shit about revolves around certain factions, and most of the stuff that I do give a shit about revolves around certain factions. The Hardy Family Office, I do not give a shit about, and there's how many members in that faction, so that has the potential to permeate lots of a show. QT Marshall and whatever his crew is, we're going to talk about that tonight, I don't give a shit about, so that permeates through the whole show. I hate to say it, and they're funny and they're feel-good guys, and we had the Brody tribute last week. I don't give a shit about the Dark Order on a regular basis. I really, really don't. And that has, again, the ability not to be repetitive, to permeate through the whole show. But then on the other side of the coin, you've got the Super Elite. You've got this other faction that's sort of building up slowly to fight the Super Elite. You've got the Best Friends, who are a lot of fun. You've got Jurassic Express on their own, away from the anti-elite. You got Darby Allin, who you guys know I'm a huge fan of. Britt Baker, who you guys know I'm a huge fan of. And this show sort of underlined it for me. Sorry, I think I'm all over the map. Once again, doing this solo. I want to send a quick shout out to Guapo and Mrs. Guapo, who are on vacation this week, and a shout out to our buddy, our pal Jake DeMarco, who's still dealing with his stuff. And we're all thinking about you, buddy. But going forward, you get just me. Deal with it or click onto another video. We started with, I figured, what would have at least been the midway main event, but again, this goes into this whole pattern that I've been going on to for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's more prevalent on Rampage than it is on Dynamite, but the idea of the match that I think should be the main event is the one that starts the show. Now, I wouldn't have put this in the main event because you had the Casino ladder match. That's a little bit of a different scenario. I wouldn't have picked this to open, though. I might have put the TNT match to open, even though when we get to that, I don't have much to say about it other than it was good. But it's the Super Elite, in this case, Omega, Cole, and the Bucks taking on Daniel Bryan, Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. It's funny, when they put up the first graphic, they put those names on, but they put a picture of Kazarian. I don't know if anybody caught that. It was corrected by, I think, the next morning. But enough people saved the image and had a good laugh and whatever the whole thing is. I can't believe, with 8 guys this popular, we skipped all the intros. Now, I know the people in-house obviously got the intros because they've been there since Dark and Dark Elevation, and they're going to be sitting there through Rampage. God bless them. They're going on a marathon. Talk about how long WrestleMania is. And I'm not doing this just as a dig at AEW, and I'm not doing this to put over WWE. WWE is massively... I'm trying to find another term other than dumpster fire, but it seems to be the one that I land on right now. Now, SmackDown won the draft, and we're going to talk about that more. And especially their women's division. The women's division on SmackDown's looking fucking good, and they got rid of Bianca Belair. But imagine, for the length that Dark and Dark Elevation are, then sitting through Dynamite, then sitting through Rampage. And I don't mean sitting through like it's terrible, but that's just a lot of time. That's like an 8-hour show if you show up at the beginning and you stay till the end. You know, it's kind of like we would always joke about SmackDown running and like having some dark matches and then doing 205 Live, or, you know, main event being taped after Raw or whatever you want to call it. That's, I don't know. I've never been to an AEW live event. We don't have the buildings and the capacity up here in Canada yet. Let's hope that happens soon. I would love to come up here and tell you guys about my my first live AEW experience, and I'll try not to even be a smartass about it. How about that? We got no intros. And the other thing I want to say, and it's always true, but some matches just point these types of things out. And it's another one of the Spaz nitpicky things. I know they think they're doing something cool with that camera that they've got perched right on the corner of the turnbuckle. I know they do. And it's an interesting perspective, and I get it. But it's kind of like, was it WCW or TNA that tried to actually put a live camera like on the ref so you could get the ref's point of view? It doesn't work, especially when the rest of their camera work is pretty good, is really good. It's, you know, nice and clear, and it follows the action, and it doesn't cut to hell like WWE. And then you go to this one camera, and it looks like all of a sudden you're watching the match through somebody's phone that's sitting on the turnbuckle. It's not a bad thing. It's not. They're trying different things. I mean, WWE has tried it as well with the cameras on the posts. It's not something that wrestling as a whole has gotten right yet. So I don't need it, and I don't need it especially when there's so much spectacular work like you got from the 8 guys in this match. And God help me if I tried to tell you what happened in this match from beginning to end. So I'm not going to try, but. You don't want to miss any of that. You don't want to miss any of that with experimental camera stuff. Yes, that's my big nitpick out of the way for the evening. Once again, I got to send a shout out to Luchasaurus, who is the big guy of the match. Now, not to say that the rest of them are vanilla midgets, anything like that, but you've got 4 guys on the other side and 3 guys on your own team that fly around like crazy. And then you got Luchasaurus, who goes in there and wallops people. Now, that's his role in the match. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, oh, this is something brand new and different, but he's so good at it. And they must see something in him, because if you look at the people in the match, you've got Kenny Omega, that's the champion. You got the Bucks, who were just recently the former tag champions. You got Adam Cole, who's going to be wearing a belt sooner than later. You got Christian Cage, who's the Impact champion. You got Jungle Boy, who's on a huge push. He's one of the 4 pillars of AEW, and you got Daniel Bryan, who's Daniel Bryan. So out of all those people, Luchasaurus gets to go in there and wall up all 4 members of the Elite. That says something about what they think of Luchasaurus, because he doesn't have a place really outside the tag division. They haven't really focused on him as a singles guy, but as a big guy in amongst a bunch of people that are not going in there to play the big guy role, he's really, really good. We have a sequence on the outside where everybody sort of falls out. You know, Simon Miller on What Culture calls it the tag team klaxon, and all of a sudden everybody's in. I'm not going to steal his gimmick, but basically I just did. In the midst of all that, Nakazawa hit Christian in the back with something. I thought it was the laptop at first. It looked like some kind of case. Somebody said it was a gaming case. I don't know why they would have a gaming case other than, like, outside of wrestling. Apparently Kenny Omega's a big gamer, but whatever it was, it distracted him long enough to take an indie taker on the floor. And this was the point in the match that they decided to sell as the big serious injury moment. They got the medical staff out there and whatever, and while that's being dealt with, the Super Elite beat the shit out of Marco Stunt, which makes me smile. Now, I don't know when this happened, but if you've been on Twitter the past couple of days, I'm assuming it happened on Dark. There is a GIF going around right now of Marco Stunt getting cut in half by Wardlow in what I can only call a toss jackhammer. I don't know what the move is called. I don't know what it's supposed to be. He looks like he's a blade of grass on lawn grooming day. That doesn't make any sense, but go look it up if you don't watch Dark, which I don't, because I don't believe a wrestling company should give you homework. But that's a good spot. Back in the ring, we get another face-off between Kenny Omega and Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy hit him with a lariat, but Kenny took, and this is, again, not me nitpicking, but definitely focusing on something that I don't think they meant for me to focus on. Kenny Omega took the lariat really weird and kind of folded himself in half, and it was awkward. Then he falls out of the ring. Kenny and Bryan square off, and they tease, and they get the crowd all riled up, and they go at it for a bit. And they're teasing another round of Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan. Now, if you know what happened at the end of the night, I don't know why you would tease the crowd with this, if that may not necessarily be the direction that they're going. Going back to Luchasaurus once again, he does have that weird chokeslam sandwich thing that I tried to explain the other day. Basically grab one guy by the front of the throat and chokeslam somebody else on top of them. If that's going to be a steady part of his offense. I think it's really cool, really unique. It's definitely a different take on a choke slam, which is really, really good. They hit the low blow on Luchasaurus, and then they try to give him a 4-man powerbomb, and it kind of falls apart. Now, the AEW fans on Twitter are telling me that this was intentional. This was meant to take the piss out of Luchasaurus. Like, oh, you're such a weird character. We didn't even want to give you a proper finisher. I think they just fell apart, and that's fine. Jungle Boy takes all the shit after this, because if it was a botch and they were trying to give us a different ending, Jungle Boy took a double super kick from the Bucks, followed by a snapdragon by Kenny Omega, followed by the Panama Sunrise, followed by a 4-man BTE trigger. He's dead. It's the Ralph Wiggum clip from The Simpsons. Stop. He's already dead, and the Super Elite get the win. Now, they're pushing towards. I don't know what they're pushing towards, because we're going to get Omega and Danielson again somewhere down the line. We're probably going to get a program between the Jurassic Express and the Bucks, which is also something I'm very, very here for, because, as I say, Jungle Boy can go in there and do Buck stuff with them, and then Luchasaurus can be the odd one out that provides the power game, and you can do a bunch of cool shit like that. But what that leaves is potentially a story between Christian Cage and Adam Cole. Now that you're going to get fine matches out of that. I do predict that Adam Cole is going to go over the TNT title eventually, and you're going to get Adam Cole versus Sammy Guevara, and those matches will be fantastic, because, spoiler alert, Sammy did not lose his title in his first defense. But I think there's a side story you could tell here if you're going to pair everybody off from this sort of anti-elite group that we've got going on right now, is for Adam Cole to go after Christian Cage's Impact Championship, because Christian Cage won the Impact Championship off of Kenny Omega. Now, if Adam Cole wins that and brings it back to the Elite, I think there's a really awesome story to be told there, and I think if they don't do that, they're really leaving some money on the table. And if you do that, if you do throw that strap on Adam Cole for a hot minute, look at all the different permeations of superstar you can have him fight in over in Impact. I would love to see Adam Cole versus Josh Alexander, but that's just me. I'm just a little bit biased. I'm sorry. Adam Cole versus Sami Callihan, for example. Why are there bugs? Why is this a thing we don't need to worry about? In the back, we got Mox hyping up the ladder match for later on, which is great. And we got CM Punk coming out to make some announcements, and I was worried this was going to happen. I mentioned this several weeks ago. You can't just promote, hey, CM Punk has an announcement, because it's kind of like when Sting first came to TNA, or sorry, not TNA, AEW. I said TNT title, and we're going to get to the other title later on. When Sting first came to AEW, it was a whole lot of, we're going to get this match, and this match, and this match, and oh, also, Sting's going to be here. I don't want it to be, oh, also, CM Punk is going to be here. And I might be the odd man out. I might be on the island. I put CM Punk, as most of us do, on the real high pedestal as far as cutting a promo. This one was just, it was off, and it was self-indulgent, and not in that cool, like, everybody's in on the joke and everybody's in on the sarcasm type of self-indulgent. He just goes out there and talks forever about his history in Philadelphia, which I'm sure for the people that live there and the people that know what he's talking about was great. And then randomly calls out Daniel Garcia because he offered the crowd the option of him buying them all Philly cheesesteaks, because that's the city we're in, or do you want to see me wrestle? Now he says, okay, cool, I'm going to wrestle. I'm going to call out Danny Garcia for Rampage. Now, here's where you run into a problem with Rampage, because he's hyping up that crowd to see him wrestle. He's hyping up that crowd to see him fight Daniel Garcia that night. He is going to face Daniel Garcia that night. That crowd is going to see him wrestle Daniel Garcia that night. Everybody else, every other pair of eyes that are glued to a TV screen, are getting hyped up for a match that's happening in 72 hours or so. And I don't, as much as we all know that Rampage is taped, and there's pros and cons to that, and you can fight the pre-tape thing all you want. I don't want to, while I'm watching the show, while I'm in the fiction of the show, I don't want to be reminded that stuff's happening tonight that I'm missing. I don't want to be reminded that what I'm watching on Friday didn't happen on Friday. Does that make sense? I'm not pleading for ignorance here, but I'm just within the storyline. If you're on the show, if you've got a live mic in the ring and you're playing the character of CM Punk, I don't want you reminding me that you've taped 4 shows tonight. Does that make sense? Still a big fan of CM Punk. Him versus Daniel Garcia on Friday will be great. It's going to mean we're going to get to see 2.0 in his corner, and he's probably going to have, I don't know, Mox and Kingston and Darby and Sting. Well, Darby's dead. We can talk about that in a second. But he'll have somebody out there in that side of the ring too, and he'll have a great match with Garcia. It's a little nitpicky thing once again that just it's not great. Don't hype me up like I'm going to see a match tonight that I'm going to see on Friday. Hype me up for, I don't know. I don't know. It was a miss. And for CM Punk to have a miss on the mic, it really, really sticks out. You want to talk about something that misses, though. Now, I said this. I was watching, shout out to Good Mic Work and his live AEW watch-alongs. I've been listening to those the past couple of weeks as I watch Dynamite, as I take my own notes, etc. And I said this in the chat there, and I'm going to say it here as well. NXT, we got brand new fireworks and rainbows NXT, but old NXT, good NXT, NXT that I loved and reviewed with you guys every week, the black and gold brand, got accused of being melodramatic. You know, Johnny Gargano stares at his hands too much, and Aleister Black is sitting in a dark closet talking nonsense, because that's so different from what he's doing now. If you want to talk about melodramatic bullshit, I present you Cody Rhodes's senile pseudo-father having a dramatic bonfire on his front yard and burning his suits and calling him Stardust to make him mad. Because not only do we have to be melodramatic, we also have to get a shot in at WWE. This was garbage, folks. Oh, yes. That's all we're going to say about that. Let's move on to something that was a lot more fun. Don't have a lot of notes on it, but it was a lot more fun. Sammy Guevara versus the debuting Bobby Fish for Sammy Guevara's brand new TNT Championship. Now, first of all, we should say that Sammy Guevara got back the old black and gold and red title. He got rid of the... What was Rusev's title? It was all the Bulgaria colors or whatever. He was doing his weird God's favorite wrestler gimmick that didn't really hit at all. He got the belt back. What I like about it this time around is if you look at the TNT logo, and we're going to talk about those logos in a second, look at the TNT logo where they had that really, really plain looking circle in the middle. They've actually encrusted that center piece. So the part in the center of the belt that was so plain looking and it looked like something was missing doesn't look like something is missing anymore. This is the best looking, and with all due respect to Miro, and obviously with all due respect to Mr. Brody Lee, this is the best looking TNT Championship that they've had. Going purely on the look of the belt itself. I know they presented the old belt to -1 and that family, and that has sort of emotional, traditional significance, and I understand that and I respect that and all that. Just from the look of the belt, from an aesthetic point of view, the belt that Sammy is currently carrying around is the best looking TNT Championship that they have had so far. Sammy Guevara versus Bobby Fish. We've got 2 of the 4 members of the Undisputed Era. Boom. Very, very simple, easy to digest story in the match. Striker versus High Flyer. Fish got to have a pretty decent flurry in the early going. It was a great showcase for Fish. I'm going to get into why it wasn't as great as it could have been in a second. There was a lot of... And this is those points in the match where you actually do genuinely stop and worry about the wrestlers for a second. There was a lot of spots where Bobby Fish was sort of swatting Sammy out of the air. Now, what I mean by that is he either went to the top turnbuckle and Fish took his feet out from under him and he took a hard fall all the way to the mat, or he took a hard fall from the ropes all the way to the mat, or he took a hard fall from the ropes all the way to the apron. Because each one, he looked like he was landing on his head, landing on his neck. And I get doing that once because it looks dangerous and it adds some gravitas to the match. Doing it more than once, it sort of feels like you're using our concern, if that makes sense. There's probably a better way to say that. But using our concern means you're taking our concern for granted. And it also, the more you do it, the more you increase the chance of somebody actually getting hurt. Now, these guys are professionals. Sammy Guevara is awesome. Bobby Fish proved all the way through NXT how awesome he is. As I say, great showcase for Fish. What I will say about this match, and it suffers, and they fixed this problem with another match later on in the night, it did suffer from the fact that you knew the result going in. You knew that Bobby Fish hasn't actually been announced as part of the roster. We haven't gotten the Fishy Fish is all elite or anything like that. We haven't had anybody come along and parrot Matt Riddle's thing of how much fish could Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish could fry fish. And Sammy Guevara just got the title off a really big emotional win on the Brody Lee tribute show. So he wasn't gonna lose. Bobby Fish wasn't gonna win. This was a great first defense for Sammy. This was a great debut for Bobby Fish. If there's anybody watching AEW that doesn't watch WWE or doesn't watch NXT, because yes, NXT's numbers are going down, rah, and much like myself, doesn't have too much knowledge of the indies, this was a really, really good match to introduce you to Bobby Fish. It was kind of cool for me because even though I'm a fan of the Undisputed Era and a fan of NXT when it was good, he was always the other teammate in the Undisputed Era. He was Kyle O'Reilly's partner, or he was Roderick Strong's partner. Like everybody else, Kyle O'Reilly's had some singles push. Roderick Strong has had singles titles. Adam Cole is obviously Adam Cole. Bobby Fish striking out on his own. Really, really cool. Gonna go through some stuff really, really quickly. Dan Lambert and all his guys came out after the match was over. They maul Sammy. Fuego comes out to help and fails, and then they get saved by Jericho and Hager. And Dan Lambert talks some shit on the mic, and nobody can hear what they're saying because that's how loud the crowd is singing Judas. As I say, Dan Lambert talks some bullshit, and apparently the Men of the Hour and one of the MMA guys, I don't know MMA, are going to take on Sammy and Hager and Jericho, which is all good. We get the announcement that this coming Friday, Lucha Brothers are going to take on the Acclaimed. I really like the Acclaimed. Really, really glad Max Caster wasn't canceled. I have no illusions. They're not winning the titles on Friday, but it'll be a good match. Then we get the announcement, why are there mosquitoes, of the women's TBS title. Now, everybody thought that we were getting women's tag titles. We're not getting women's tag titles because let's take some baby steps and let's do something a little bit different. I would love, people who watch my reviews of NXT would have heard me say the mid-card on NXT had a really, really high, in the women's division, I should say, had a really, really big high point, and the mid-card in the women's division in AEW is definitely a thing. There are women on that division that need something to fight for that aren't going to be going up against Britt Baker. They're just not. The Abaddons and the Layla Hirsch's and the who's another one I can think of, Sky Blue, who I've only seen like twice, the Red Velvets, etc, etc, etc. TBS title looks exactly like the TNT title, except it's got the TBS logo in the center. Now, I'm going to parrot a thought that I used to have with WWE. WWE's belts don't look that great. They don't. I'm not going to say that they do. Most of them are just big WWE logos. But what I will say is the men's titles and the women's titles look the same, or look very, very similar. It creates at least the illusion of some equality between the guys and the girls. That's always good. I'm not going to come up with this like it's a huge SJW spiel, but it is cool to see that the TBS title is basically the TNT title with a different logo in the center. There's going to be a tournament coming shortly, and that's all fine and wonderful. Darby Allin tells JR in the back the story about his uncle drinking and driving and dying, and it's a story that they've told more than once, and it's fine, and it's his story. He can tell it as much as he wants. He can put it into his storylines as much as he wants. I just wish that AEW wouldn't treat it like it's new information every time they talk about it. Does that make sense? They have this conversation right before Darby Allin has a match against Nick Comoroto, and I don't care because Nick Comoroto is part of the QT group. Darby gets the win. QT Marshall tries to get a cheap shot at Sting and gets a Scorpion Death Drop for his trouble. Nick Comoroto was basically sent in there to be the big dumb giant while Darby does cool, like I'm the actual star stuff. Dante Martin talks some bullshit in the ring about how he's going to take on anybody, and isn't that adorable? Lights go out, lights come back, Malachi Black is in the ring, Mist, Black Mask, get the fuck out of the ring. Love it. Love it. Ricky Starks comes out with the FTW title, shits on Brian Cage. He gets beat down by Brian Cage. He gets saved by Team Taz. Please get us off this looping roller coaster. Thunder Rosa, Sky Blue, Ruby Soho, and Jade Cargill. I'm not going to say Cora Jade. They start hyping up the TBS Women's Tournament, which is fine and wonderful and dandy, and I hope it's more than just 4 people. Hikaru Shida, let's try that one again. Hikaru Shida fighting for her 50th win in AEW, taking on Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb is such a goddamn good wrestler. She may not be the flashiest person in the world, but she's such a goddamn, people make fun of Jim Ross all the time for she got great fundamentals, but she does, and she's fluid as fuck, and we needed an indicator of whether she was a babyface or a heel tonight, so she slapped her in the face, and it's fine, and it's wonderful. Shida teased the chair spot, where she jumps off the chair to do some sort of impact thing on the outside, and the chair gets taken away. There's a sequence from Serena Deeb that starts with an eye rake, and then it goes to an inverted dragon screw, to a detox, to a serenity lock, and that gets the win! Serena Deeb stole away the 50th victory from Hikaru Shida, is the narrative that they're putting out here. But here's the thing. Hikaru Shida's got 49 wins, and eventually she's going to have 50. She didn't lose anything. It's not like she has to go back to 0. She has 49 wins on her record. I will say, turning up the volume on Serena Deeb as a heel is fucking phenomenal, and I really like it. And they had a trophy and everything waiting for her on the outside that said Hikaru Shida, first woman in AEW to reach 50 victories. This is the opposite of what I would say with the Sammy and Bobby Fish thing, where you go into the match knowing who's going to win. You came in, they were hyping up her 50th win, they had a trophy all nice and ready for her there. Predictable match, they're going to give her a feel-good moment and all, that's fine, and they didn't do that. My hat is off to AEW. Quite literally, yes, I need to get the haircut fixed up. It's fine. We don't need to worry about that right now. But the trophy shot after the match was nice. In the back, we get an interview with Darby Allin. He gets informed that MJF wants to have a match with him next week on Dynamite. And Dynamite next week's on a Saturday, so you will not be getting a Dynamite review from me next week, because I'm hoping to be doing quite a few things next weekend. But a bunch of masked guys, aka the Pinnacle, beat the fuck out of Darby Allin 5-on-1. Wardlow gives him the F10 on a bunch of those steel interlocking guardrails that were on the outside, and then they just put one stop sign on top for reasons, and then they choke him with the skateboard, and it's fine. They go back to commentary, and Tony Schiavone's looking very, very upset, like the angry dad. And he's like, "We know who it is. You're not fooling anybody." And it's like, yeah, we get it. Lio Rush in the back, because he's a money guy, and I'm not quite sure. I hope he's not just a manager. I really hope he's not just a manager, because I would love to see him in the ring. But he's verbally trying to recruit Dante Martin. And Lio Rush, please do something better with your time than waste your time with Dante Martin. I'm just putting that one out there. I've had my opinions of Lio Rush, some of them good, some of them bad. Please don't shove any more Dante Martin down my throat. We've already had him being put over by the champion of the company. It's a mess. I don't need to talk about it. Gee, I wonder why he's getting a push. Look at his arm. The Casino ladder match. And I will say, I know I'm on an island. Once again, I love all the casino matches. I love the Casino Battle Royal. I love the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal. I love the Casino Ladder match, even though it's basically Rumble in the Bank. I love the big comedy casino chip that they have to reach for, because there's no title to reach for, there's no briefcase to reach for, etc. Orange and Pac start the match, and it's basically the story of chilled out, I don't give a shit, Orange Cassidy versus the angry, aggressive bastard, and that's all fine and wonderful. Andrade comes in at number 3, and he immediately kicks off his contributions to the match with an over-the-top of the ladder sunset flip powerbomb on Pac, because they have a rivalry. Hardy comes into the match, and he's pissed off at Orange Cassidy because they didn't beat him in the hair versus hair match that wasn't for his hair on Rampage. Hits him with an immediate side effect. Archer comes in during the commercial break. Now, here is why I will say I love the casino gimmicks that AEW does. You can't do them on Dynamite, because this kind of match with the sequential introductions, etc., don't put it on a show where you're going to have commercial interruptions, because you're going to get Lance Archer, who we already think of as like, well, this guy's not winning. You have him being introduced during the commercial break. Or do what NXT did in the early days, talk to your network every now and then, go go a little bit and say, hey, we're going to have this particular episode because it's special with limited commercial interruption. It's fine. Mox comes out at number 6. Archer meets him in the crowd. They have a brawl in the crowd. They don't hit each other with chairs. They throw chairs at each other, and I don't know why that popped me so much, but it did. When Mox actually gets back into the ring, me being a fan of Pete Dunne, I loved seeing him hit the X-Plex on Orange Cassidy, which is really, really good. Now, the biggest non-surprise in captivity is that the Joker was Hangman Page. On his little graphic above his name in the little, where they put a little extra bit of information about them occasionally. It's either their stats or something, what they did last week or what their most recent accomplishment was or whatever. Adam Hangman Page finally showed up to work. Great. Crowd goes nuts when Hangman hits the ring and starts brawling with Moxley. Now, there's a match we need to see eventually. I don't know why I didn't think about that until just now, but give me probably a brawl, probably some kind of street fight scenario between Hangman and Mox. It doesn't need to involve the title. It's fine, but give me a match between those two eventually because the crowd loved it. Top of the ladder, Deadeye through a table to Pac by Hangman Page, and then we eventually just start picking people apart. Matt takes out Orange Cassidy on the outside with a leg drop through the table that looks like it killed both of them. Archer temporarily took out Mox, but he came back to brawl with Hangman, and they have this little bit of an awkward thing because they trade a couple of punches and then they kind of look at each other, and then Mox just sort of stumbles down the ladder because I think it looked like, and I'm not taking the piss here, I'm really not, it looks like Mox all of a sudden had the realization, oh shit, I'm not winning this match, and just kind of fell off the ladder. Hangman Page goes up, gets the chip, gets the predictable win. This is where predictable is just fine. The fans love it. It does make me wonder why they teased the Omega Bryan stuff so much in the first match, but sometimes what you do at the head doesn't match up with what you do at the feet. It's fine. This was a match. This was it. You guys have heard me talk about pile of people matches. I love them. This is why. They're even when they're super predictable, they're still unpredictable. You've still got the Orange Cassidy and Matt Hardy stuff going. That way you can do Mox Archer stuff. That way you can do Pac Andrade stuff that way, and then you've got the winner. This sort of sets up everybody. As predictable as it is, it kind of sets up everything perfectly. So, great opener. Women's match was good, surprising ending. The heel work from Serena Deeb was sort of unexpected, the trophy shot after the thing. The introduction of Bobby Fish, the first defense of the TNT Championship, the announcement of the TBS Championship. Let me know who down in the box below who you think should be the first person to hold that while we look over to WWE where they're doing the Queen's Crown that's going to happen in Saudi Arabia. Don't worry, we don't need to talk about it. And then Hangman goes home with the chip at the end of the night. Didn't he win the first ever casino gimmick thing to face Jericho to be the first ever world champion? Is this a little bit of LTST? Somebody with a better memory than me. This is why I need Guapo. This is why I need Jake. Somebody with a better memory than me, put it down in the box below. I think I'm right. I really do have to cut this one short because A, I don't have very much else to say. B, the light is flashing at me to say I almost don't have any battery left. And I'm, as always, as will not surprise any of you anymore, I am perpetually tired. So I'm going to stop before I start rambling. I would really, really love to know. I love the anniversary show. I'm sure the anniversary theme will continue on through Rampage. Maybe I can suck somebody in to join me for that, because going solo is effort and Spaz is tired. Anyways, I would be Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.